We present the PhyloGeoTool, an interactive application to navigate large phylogenetic trees. It uses an algorithm that automatically partitions a phylogeny into an optimal number of clusters displayed in the right panel. Each colored node represents a different cluster. The panel on the top left, a map, displays the geographic distribution of sampling, while the panel on the bottom left shows the distribution of the chosen attribute. This can be in a histogram or a bar chart. To start things off, we will first select a different attribute to show this change to a bar chart. The attribute year of birth is continuous data, so it is best represented by a histogram, while country of origin is discrete data. So a bar chart is a better way to represent this. If we now hover over the different clusters, we can see the bar chart change. The red color shows the amount of sequences that originate from the displayed country in the hovered cluster, and this on top of the white bar, which represents the amount of sequences in the whole dataset. If we now hover over the yellow cluster, the stacked bar color has changed from red to yellow to clearly show the amount of sequences in this specific cluster that originate from the shown countries. If we now change the attribute back to year of birth and repeat the hovering over the different clusters, we can see again that a colored layer is put on top of the histogram to display the distribution of the specific hovered cluster. But not only the charts are interesting, also the map can provide us with very relevant information. We can change the map from a worldwide representation to a more zoomed representation by selecting the region of interest from the drop-down list. In this case, we select Europe. By hovering over the countries, we can see how many sequences in our full dataset are originating from this specific country. This is mentioned as the cohort size. If we then hover over the clusters again, we can see that the map colors change, because now only the geographic origin of the sequences in this specific cluster are printed on the map. A darker red color indicates that more sequences originate from this country. If we then hover back out of the cluster, the full dataset is shown again. Let's put the view back on world and click on the red node. Now we are diving deeper into the phylogenetic tree. By clicking the red cluster, we go deeper one level, and this means that we show a new clustering, but this time with only sequences that were in the red cluster on level 0. You see on the figure that all branches colored in black are no longer part of the clustering and are not represented in the clustering. If we now click on the red cluster again, we go to another level, deeper, and again show a cluster for only the sequences that were colored red in the previous level. We'll do it one more time to clearly display that more and more branches are getting the black color, meaning that they are no longer displayed here in the clustering, and that only the sequences which were relevant to the user receive a new clustering. We can now go back to the root of the application by clicking the button back to level 0 on the bottom of the screen. To make sure that you're back at the root of the tree, you can click on the button View Tree again and see that this is the case. If you now would be interested to make an export of the tree that you see, you can click on the button Export, which will bring you up a new pop-up menu. You can set the attribute as you like. Do you want to export the color tree? Yes or no? Do you want to show the node tips? Yes or no? And what type of format would you like to export? We currently support PDF, PNG, Nexus, and SVG. When you set all the settings to your preference, you click on Export and wait for the download link to appear. Once the export process has finished, you can click the link that will appear and will be taken to the generated file in a new tab of your browser. If you would like to save your generated image, you can easily do this by right-clicking the image, such as displayed here. This image can then be saved to your desktop, and you can review the image later on. To showcase the different support formats, we will also showcase the export as a PDF file. But this time, we don't want to show the node tips, so we click on No, and then we select PDF. So, we click on Export and again wait for the download link to appear. You click the link again and will be taken to the tab just like it was done before. Same principle, just different result. We will now show the last interesting option of our tool, placing your own sequence in the tree. The functionality is hidden under the button Save Place Your Sequence. This will bring up a menu where you will have either to fill in your nucleotide sequence by, for example, copy-pasting the information in the text area, or upload a file by selecting the Choose File button. For the sake of example, we will now upload an HIV-1 subtype C sequence to be placed in our tree. It is important to note that we can only place sequences that can be aligned to the dataset represented in the tool. It is not possible to place too short or two different sequences. For example, we cannot place HCV in our HIV clustering. Next, we will fill in our email address such that the software can let us know when the computations have finished and when where we can retrieve the results. The bigger the data set, the longer your wait will be. After a while, you will receive an email. When you now open the email that was sent by the software, you can find the URL to the location that contains your result. The cluster which contains your sequence is indicated with a dashed line, such as shown here. If we now dive down in this cluster, we see that every single time the cluster which contains your p-place sequence is indicated with a dashed line. If you now would like to know which are the characteristics of this cluster, you can select the attribute of interest. Hover over the cluster and see what information is in there. You can also use the back button to go back up one level so that you don't always have to use the back to level 0 button. Finally, if you would have more questions, check our user manual. The link is provided on the top right of the screen. It also contains a link on which you can contact us for any further questions. Thank you for listening.